The Middle East is holding its breath as tensions between Iran and the United States reach levels not seen in years. A United States aircraft carrier strike group is reportedly heading toward the region, and Iran is sending warnings to Washington. According to a senior Iranian official speaking with Reuters, Iran says it would treat any military attack as all-out war against us. The official, speaking on condition of anonymity, told Reuters that Tehran views the current military buildup with serious concern and has prepared accordingly. The official statement to Reuters represents a significant hardening of Iranian rhetoric, signaling that Tehran views the current situation as potentially different from previous periods of tension. According to the official, there will be no room for interpretation this time. No shades of gray, no limits. The warning reflects Iran's stated position that it will not accept what it characterizes as limited or surgical strikes on its territory. According to the Iranian official who spoke with Reuters, Tehran hopes the growing United States military presence is not meant for confrontation. But hope, he emphasized, does not equal trust. After years of sanctions, threats, and previous military actions against Iranian facilities, Iranian leaders have stated they must prepare for various scenarios. The official told Reuters that Iran's military is described by officials as on high alert and preparing for worst-case scenario. The red line is clear, the official told Reuters. This time, any attack, limited, unlimited, surgical, kinetic, whatever they call it, will be treated as an all-out war against us. The choice of words appeared deliberate, rejecting the terminology that Washington has historically used to describe limited military operations. From Tehran's stated perspective, there is no such thing as a limited attack on Iranian sovereignty. Any violation of Iran's territorial integrity would trigger a response designed, in the official's words, to settle the conflict once and for all. The warning carries particular weight, given the context of previous United States military actions in the region. Washington has conducted strikes described as limited or targeted, but Tehran has consistently argued that such characterizations minimize the impact on Iranian interests. The official statement to Reuters suggests that Iran's stated position is that it would no longer accept such distinctions. The senior Iranian official told Reuters that a nation under constant military threat from the United States has no choice but to ensure that every capability at its disposal can be used to push back and restore balance against anyone who dares to strike. The statement reflects Tehran's framing of itself as a nation defending its sovereignty against what it characterizes as foreign aggression. Iranian military doctrine has long emphasized asymmetric capabilities designed to impose costs on technologically superior adversaries. The country's missile program, drone capabilities, and network of regional relationships provide Tehran with options for responding to attacks that extend beyond conventional military exchanges. The official's reference to every capability at its disposal suggests that all of these options would be considered in the event of conflict, according to the Reuters report. What the official did not reveal was exactly how Iran would respond if attacked. This strategic ambiguity is consistent with Iranian policy, allowing Tehran to maintain flexibility while ensuring that potential adversaries cannot fully anticipate responses. However, the official told Reuters that any response would be severe, decisive, and meant to settle the conflict once and for all. United States President Donald Trump has said that an American fleet is heading toward the Middle East, using language that emphasizes the scale of the military deployment while leaving its purpose somewhat ambiguous. Speaking publicly, Trump said he hopes force will not be necessary, but renewed warnings to Tehran. "We have a big flotilla going in that direction," Trump said. "It is a big force. We have a big force going toward Iran." He added that maybe we will not have to use it. Trump's comments combined military warnings with claims of diplomatic success, citing his alleged intervention to stop 837 executions in Iran. "I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday." Trump claimed they would have been dead. Every one of them would have been hung. Trump said he warned Iranian authorities that if they proceeded with the executions, they would be hit harder than they have ever been hit. An hour before this horrible thing was going to take place, they canceled it. Trump said they actually said they canceled it. They did not postpone it. They canceled it. The United States president characterized the deployment as a precautionary measure while pressure campaigns continue. "We have an armada," Trump said. "We have a massive fleet heading in that direction, and maybe we will not have to use it. We will see." The conditional nature of Trump's statement, "Maybe we will not have to use it," leaves open various possibilities while maintaining the appearance of preferring non-military solutions. United States officials speaking on condition of anonymity say the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and guided missile destroyer escorts are expected to arrive in the Middle East region. The deployment represents a significant concentration of American military capability in a region already experiencing multiple tensions. According to reports cited by Reuters and other media, the Pentagon has also deployed F-15E Strike Eagle fighters to provide additional capabilities. The carrier strike group centered on the Abraham Lincoln brings substantial military capabilities to the region. Aircraft carriers serve as mobile platforms capable of launching sustained air operations, while accompanying destroyers provide both offensive capability through cruise missiles and defensive protection. The combination represents the kind of force package the United States has historically positioned during periods of regional tension. Reports indicate that additional air defense systems may also be deployed to protect American bases in the region. The precautionary measures suggest that United States military planners are considering various scenarios as they position forces. The nature of the deployment, capable of both offensive and defensive operations, reflects the uncertain trajectory of the current situation. The head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps ground forces, General Mohammad Pakpour, has declared that Iranian forces have the finger on the trigger and are ready to execute orders from the commander-in-chief. According to Iranian media reports, the statement represents the military dimension of Tehran's warnings, indicating that Iranian armed forces are in a heightened state of readiness. General Pakpour warned the United States and Israel against any error of calculation, according to the reports, using language that suggests Iran views the current situation as potentially dangerous. The warning against miscalculation is significant because it acknowledges the risk that conflict could begin through accident or misunderstanding rather than deliberate decision. In an environment of heightened military activity on multiple sides, the margin for error shrinks. The IRGC, which operates parallel to Iran's conventional military, controls many of the country's advanced weapon systems, including ballistic missiles and drone capabilities. The organization also maintains relationships with allied groups throughout the region. General Pakpour's statement, as reported by Iranian media, indicates that these capabilities are in a state of readiness. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi published an article in the Wall Street Journal on January 20th that significantly hardened Tehran's public position. Araghchi wrote that if hostilities occur, Iran will respond with everything we have. The statement represented a departure from previous Iranian messaging that emphasized restraint and willingness to negotiate, signaling what Iran describes as the limits of its patience with American pressure. The choice of venue for Araghchi's statement was notable, by publishing in a major American newspaper. Iran's foreign minister ensured that his message would reach American policymakers and the American public directly. The article made clear that Iran views itself as having shown restraint in the face of what it characterizes as provocation, and that this restraint should not be mistaken for weakness. Another senior Iranian commander, Ali Abdullahi, reinforced the message with even starker language. According to Iranian media, Abdullahi warned that the next conflict would end this once and for all, suggesting that Iranian military planning envisions a decisive confrontation rather than limited exchanges. The cumulative effect of these statements is to signal that Iran's stated position is that it would respond to any attack with maximum force. Reports say some airlines temporarily suspended flights over parts of the Middle East due to rising tensions. According to Reuters, KLM made route changes affecting flights to the region. Multiple international carriers, including Air France, British Airways, Lufthansa, and Swiss International Airlines, reportedly adjusted their schedules in what appeared to be a coordinated response to changing conditions. Air Canada reportedly canceled flights into Israel, and United Airlines made similar adjustments according to reports. Airlines rarely make such changes lightly, given the financial costs and disruption involved. The decisions appeared to reflect assessments of evolving risk in the region, suggesting that commercial operators with access to security information believed conditions warranted precautionary measures. The changes sent a signal that words alone could not convey. When major carriers adjust their operations to a region simultaneously, it reflects commercial assessments that conditions have changed significantly. Passengers faced disruption while the industry monitored conditions on an ongoing basis. According to reports, some flights to Israel were affected by the regional tensions, with various carriers adjusting their schedules. The disruption affected travelers across Europe and North America as airlines reassessed their operations in light of the evolving situation. The changes reflected broader concerns about regional stability rather than any single specific threat. Passengers found themselves adjusting their plans as flight availability changed. The situation remained fluid, with airlines indicating they were monitoring conditions continuously and would adjust their operations as circumstances warranted. The disruption, while significant for affected travelers, reflected standard industry practice during periods of regional uncertainty. The adjustments to flights have occurred during previous periods of regional tension, but the current situation involves concerns that extend beyond any single bilateral relationship to encompass broader regional dynamics. The flight changes reflect the interconnected nature of Middle Eastern security, where tensions in one area can affect commercial operations across a wider region. Turkey's foreign minister warned that Israel could be seeking an opportunity to strike Iran. According to Reuters, the warning added another dimension to the regional crisis, reflecting Ankara's assessment of the current situation and its concerns about potential escalation. The statement landed as tensions in the region intensified through various channels. The Israel-Iran rivalry has long played out through various proxies and indirect confrontations, including dynamics involving Hamas and Gaza, Hezbollah and Lebanon, and reported Israeli strikes on targets in Syria and elsewhere. Turkish officials appeared concerned that the current situation could move toward more direct confrontation. Turkey's position is significant because Ankara maintains relationships with multiple parties to regional tensions. Turkey has its own complicated relationships with both Iran and Israel. Turkish warnings about potential actions reflect Ankara's own assessments and diplomatic concerns. The fact that Turkey felt compelled to issue such a public warning underscores how seriously regional capitals are taking the current situation. The current tensions extend beyond the bilateral United States-Iran relationship to encompass a complex web of regional dynamics. Iran has called on regional states to avoid allowing their territory to be used for American military operations, a message directed at Gulf states that host United States military facilities. The request reflects Tehran's understanding that any conflict would likely involve multiple dimensions. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, both of which host American military presence, find themselves monitoring a situation that affects their security interests. These countries have their own relationships with Iran and face the reality that regional conflict could affect their territories and populations. The adjustments to commercial flights that affected Gulf destinations, as well as Israel, reflect the understanding that regional developments are interconnected. The interconnected nature of Middle Eastern security means that tensions between major powers can affect smaller states throughout the region. Iranian officials have historically warned that any conflict would have regional dimensions, and the current situation appears to have all parties considering various scenarios. From Tehran's stated perspective, the current tensions represent what Iranian officials characterize as American aggression against a sovereign nation that refuses to submit to Washington's demands. Iranian officials consistently frame their country's military preparations as defensive measures necessary to deter attack rather than as preparations for offensive action. The senior official who spoke with Reuters emphasized that Iran hopes to avoid conflict, but states it will not accept attacks on its sovereignty. The Iranian narrative emphasizes the historical context of United States-Iran relations, including the 1953 coup that overthrew Iran's government, decades of sanctions, and previous military actions against Iranian facilities. From this perspective, American military deployments are viewed not as defensive measures, but as pressure tactics. The framing shapes how Iranian leaders interpret American actions and how they communicate their responses. Iranian officials argue that their country has shown what they describe as restraint in the face of actions that other nations might have responded to differently. The killing of General Qasem Soleimani, reported attacks on Iranian facilities, and ongoing economic pressure through sanctions are cited as examples. The current warnings from Iranian officials suggest that Iran is communicating limits to this approach. President Trump's claim that he stopped 837 executions in Iran has become a central element of his public messaging about the current situation. Trump characterized his alleged intervention as demonstrating American influence over Iran. "If you hang those people," Trump said he warned Iranian authorities, "you are going to be hit harder than you have ever been hit. It will make what we did to your Iran nuclear look like peanuts." The reference to previous actions against Iran's nuclear program was significant, suggesting that Trump views military threats as tools for influencing behavior. The framing presents American military deployments as serving humanitarian purposes rather than as aggressive actions. From this perspective, the fleet heading toward the region serves a similar purpose, communicating consequences for actions Washington opposes. Iranian sources have not provided their account of the events surrounding the alleged executions in the same terms as Trump's description. The differences between various accounts underscore the difficulty of assessing claims made by any party during periods of heightened tension. What is clear is that both Washington and Tehran are using public messaging to communicate their positions and shape narratives about the situation. The situation inside Iran has been complicated by internal tensions, including protests that Iranian authorities have worked to address. Iranian state media has reported on security operations with various casualty figures cited by different sources. Communications limitations have affected the flow of information from inside Iran, making independent verification of events difficult. The internal situation adds complexity to the external tensions. American officials have framed their pressure campaign as supporting Iranians, while Iranian officials characterize foreign attention to internal matters as interference designed to destabilize the country. The competing narratives make it difficult to assess the actual situation or the relationship between external pressure and internal dynamics. What is clear is that Iran is dealing with both external tensions and internal challenges simultaneously. This situation could influence how Iranian leaders approach the current crisis, potentially affecting their calculations about costs and benefits of various responses. This is not the first time United States forces have been positioned in the Middle East during heightened tensions with Iran. Washington has historically described many of these deployments as defensive measures designed to protect American interests and allies. However, the pattern of military positioning has created skepticism in Tehran about American assurances regarding intentions. The senior Iranian official who spoke with Reuters referenced this history, noting that memories are fresh from previous situations. The official's comment suggests that Iranian planners view military deployments as significant indicators regardless of stated intentions. This interpretation drives the heightened readiness and explicit warnings about potential responses. The challenge for all sides is that military deployments can serve multiple purposes: deterrence, signaling, preparation, or demonstration of resolve. The ambiguity creates risks of different interpretations, where one side's preparations appear differently to the other. In an environment where multiple parties have issued warnings about responses to various actions, such different interpretations could complicate crisis management. The current situation differs from previous United States-Iran tensions in several ways that observers note increased complexity. Multiple parties have publicly stated positions that leave limited room for adjustment once events begin. Iran has stated that any attack would be treated as all-out war. The United States has positioned significant military capability, and the regional environment includes multiple overlapping tensions. The warnings from various sides appear designed to deter action, but they also raise the stakes of any miscalculation. If any party believes another is about to act, incentives shift. In environments of heightened military activity, the margin for misunderstanding shrinks, a dynamic that military analysts describe as crisis instability. Regional actors monitoring the situation have their own concerns about developments. The adjustments to commercial flights reflect assessments of risk, serving as one indicator of how seriously various parties are taking the situation. When major commercial operators change their operations, it signals that those with access to relevant information believe conditions warrant precaution. Despite the military activity and rhetoric, officials on various sides have indicated that diplomatic channels remain available. Leaders in both Tehran and Washington have stated that diplomacy remains preferable to conflict, even as they communicate readiness for other scenarios. The question is whether these channels can produce outcomes that address the concerns of multiple parties. The nuclear issue remains central to the diplomatic challenges. The United States has demanded that Iran limit its nuclear program. Iran has insisted on its right to nuclear technology and on the lifting of sanctions that Iran characterizes as economic warfare. Previous diplomatic efforts, including the 2015 nuclear agreement, have not produced lasting resolution, leaving various parties skeptical about negotiations. The senior Iranian official who spoke with Reuters offered a glimpse of what Tehran would need from any diplomatic resolution. The official emphasized sovereignty and territorial integrity as fundamental principles, suggesting that any solution would need to address Iranian concerns about security. Whether various parties are prepared to address each other's core concerns remains to be seen. Iranian officials have consistently warned that any conflict would have regional dimensions. Tehran maintains relationships with allied groups throughout the Middle East, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, various groups in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen. These relationships provide Iran with options for responding to various scenarios through both direct and indirect means. The regional network represents what analysts describe as an asymmetric capability for Iran. While the United States can project significant conventional military power, Iran can potentially impose costs through various means, including proxy relationships, missile capabilities, and geographic position near the Strait of Hormuz. The senior official's reference to every capability at Iran's disposal implicitly includes these regional dimensions. According to the Reuters report, for neighboring countries, this reality creates concerns about becoming affected by conflicts between larger powers. Gulf states hosting American facilities would face potential complications. Israel would likely face attention from Hezbollah. The entire regional security situation could be affected by escalation that none of the parties fully controls once it begins. The geopolitical situation carries implications for global energy markets and the broader world economy. The Strait of Hormuz, through which a significant portion of the world's oil passes, has long been identified as a potential point of concern that could be affected by regional conflict. Any disruption to oil flows through the strait would affect global markets. Energy analysts have warned that regional conflict could affect oil prices, with implications for consumers worldwide. The economic implications extend beyond energy to include trade, financial markets, and economic activity in regions already dealing with various challenges. The global dimensions of the current situation extend beyond the immediate parties. These economic considerations create pressure on various sides to manage tensions, but they also represent leverage. Iran's geographic position gives Tehran certain options, while American military capability provides Washington with its own forms of leverage. The balance between these factors will influence how the situation evolves. The international community is monitoring the United States-Iran situation with concern about potential implications for regional and global security. European allies have urged restraint while expressing concern about developments. China and Russia, both of which maintain relationships with Iran, have their own interests in how the situation develops. The United Nations and other international bodies have limited ability to influence events when major powers are directly involved. The situation will likely be shaped by dynamics between Washington and Tehran, with regional actors playing various roles. The limited effectiveness of international mechanisms for managing such tensions leaves the situation dependent on decisions in multiple capitals. For the people of the region, the stakes are significant. Conflict would bring consequences on a substantial scale. The warnings from various sides about all-out war and decisive responses suggest that any conflict could be intense. The hope remains that various parties will find ways to manage tensions. But hope, as the Iranian official noted to Reuters, does not equal trust. As the American fleet continues toward the Middle East region, the situation remains unresolved and complex. Iran has stated its positions clearly through officials speaking to Reuters and other outlets. The United States has positioned significant military capability, and the margin for miscalculation continues as military assets move and various parties maintain heightened readiness. The coming period will determine whether this situation follows the pattern of previous tensions, elevated activity, followed by de-escalation without direct conflict, or whether it represents something different. The explicit warnings from Iranian officials suggest that Tehran views this moment with particular seriousness. If the next move is misread, the Iranian official warned Reuters, it may not be a warning shot, it may be war. The world is monitoring to see whether leaders in Washington and Tehran can find ways to manage tensions, or whether other dynamics will prevail. The Middle East holds its breath, waiting to see what comes.